What up, y'all? It's the motherfucking Strong Dad, and today we're talking triceps for the guys who are trying to have bigger looking arms. And before we get into that, if you want bigger looking arms, triceps is what you want to work on more than biceps, okay? When you look at a bodybuilder's back double bicep, you'll note that his bicep makes up the least amount of that visual. It's mostly the long head, it's mostly the lateral head and the medial head of his tricep, which is the top portion of the tricep and the outer portion of the tricep. So that's why we are focusing on tricep training today. All right. So let's get into it. All right. I'm going to go over, if you hear some cars, my normal spot, they're doing road work by my house. So I'm parked at a different spot and there's a lot of cars. Anyway, the selection that I'm going to bring forth is going to be my preferred selection. If someone asks me to recommend to them which exercises to do for complete tricep training, the ones that we're going to go over are going to be the ones that I recommend over all the others. That doesn't mean that all the others are bad or not effective. If you can only access, if you can only do bench dips or you can only do, skull crushers with the dumbbell, then do that. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Just do that. But if you absolutely have a better selection, then the ones we talk about here are going to be the ones that I think are going to give you the best bang for your buck. So let's get into it. Tricep pushdowns. Everybody, a lot of guys, they do this wrong. It's an ego movement. You either got the straight attachment or the V attachment or the ropes, but you're trying to ego move that whole stack, and you either are leveraging your whole body over the cable portion. So that way, when you do the push down, it's mostly your upper body that's leveraging that weight down, right? A lot of body English. Or you've done full extension, but the weight is so heavy that you can't do full flexion. You can't bring it all the way back up. So you keep it, under the 90-degree range and full extension range. And you kind of eke it out right there. And both of these ways are not the ways you do triceps, my guy. One, your triceps are not going to grow fast at all. They're not going to grow much at all from it. And the weight that you're doing don't even fucking belong to you. All right. If you're not doing your movements correctly, that weight don't belong to you. It's not yours. You're a fucking pretender. You're a poser. So let's make you strong so that weight actually belongs to you. When it comes to the tricep push down, I like to use the V attachment and I like to do it kneeling. It makes it harder for me to instinctively lean my body forward and leverage it because you don't really have leverage on your knees, pause. So I like to do it kneeling. That way I'm really focusing on the stretch movement when I bring it up. And when I go to push it down, it's mostly my triceps pushing it down. And, there's room for a little tiny bit of body English when you get to the end of this motion, especially if you're trying to eke out some length and partials. When you're towards the failure portion of your tricep movements, try to fail in the stretched range. Don't try to fail in the extended range. You're failing in the stretch range. The stretch portion of the movement is where you're going to find the most muscle growth. That's whenever we talk about anything muscle, we're going to be emphasizing the stretch portion above all things because the stretch portion is where you see the most muscle growth. Okay. But again, remember, full ROM still. So when we're doing that tricep push down, again, we're kneeling. That way we can get full flexion, bring it all the way up, bend your arms all the way so you're getting the full stretch in your triceps that you possibly can from this angle. And then you're going to push down. All right. And try not to do it super fast. And if you want to do it super slow, you can. That's more for a higher advanced level. But if you're just trying to get a good tricep exercise and you're an average guy, you can use a moderate speed and you're going to get just as much benefit as if you slowed the tempo down. But obviously the rest pause and things like that will give you more gains, but you're not there quite yet. Okay. Next movement. Overhead tricep extensions. Now, I added this movement in about 1.5 years ago, and I fell in love with it. But I, like many guys, was doing it wrong in the very beginning, which is why it took me so long to fall in love with this movement, which is why it took me so long to find this movement. I never did it because I did it the wrong way. And these are the two wrong ways I think guys do it. One, they either put the cable attachment at the very top. And so now when you go to do this overhead tricep extension, you're getting the least amount of flexion in your triceps, and you're leveraging again your body weight to move that weight. So it becomes an ego lift, because your body, obviously you're going to be able to move more of the stack with your body, but your triceps can't. And so a lot of guys, they barely get full reps here, and they barely do a lot, and it never, they always end up abandoning this movement or looking like jackasses with this movement. Another way to do this movement in a bad way is to put it down on the ground, because now when you want to lift this up over your head, yes, there's not a problem. If you have great healthy shoulders, it's okay, but it's an uncomfortable position to grab that attachment from. It can cause shoulder pain if you're using a lot of weight. You know, it can tweak your shoulders. That's not a reason not to do it. But also the leverage kind of throws you off, because now the weight's all the way down on the ground, and it kind of moves your body backwards. So what I like to do is I like to put the cable attachment about waist high, maybe like a tiny bit beneath waist high, so that when I go to grab the ropes and I bring it up, one, I don't have that far to go, so I'm not really going to hurt my shoulder if I'm moving a lot of weight, you know, more of the stack. Two, there is enough space that the cable is moving, so I'm not starting from a break position. And three, when I go to do the overhead tricep extension, I'm getting full flexion in my triceps because it's down lower. All right. And I can stand up a little straighter than normal, so I can use my front leg to anchor me better. Now I can move more weight with just my triceps, and it's a lot easier to fail from this position. If you've done overhead tricep extensions in the past and you've experienced the issues that I spoke about, try it this way and you'll probably fall in love with it. And if you don't, tell me to fuck off. Next movement is going to be a single arm tricep push or pull down. Technically, it's a pull down because you're pulling, but at some point you're pushing. So it's whatever. It's negligible. It's a single arm tricep extension. All right. A lot of guys, they do this with the cable attachment and they grab it underhand. Why, bro? You don't even have leverage with your fucking fingers. That's dumb. You can't even progress. At some point, you're not going to be able to move a lot of weight with that. Let's just be real. And unless you like high volume, a shitload of reps, there's just no point in grabbing it with a supinated grip, right? Supinated underhand, soup style. And sometimes they do overhand with the cable attachment, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a little wonky and it's not as comfortable. And most guys end up it looks like it's not comfortable for you. If you have access to it, and this is excluding, if you don't have access to this attachment, use the rope, all right? Use the rope. That way you can have the knob right under your fist. That's a really great way to do this movement. But if you have access to a cuff attachment, wrap it on your wrist and try it that way. One, you don't have to worry about your grip. So with the rope, at some point, your grip still will be a factor if you are really progressing, especially when you get into that range and you're really failing in the partial range, right? But if you have the cuff, it's just all your arm in there. So you can focus all on your triceps. You don't have to think about your grip at all. It's all a tricep movement. You can move a lot more weight with it in the long run, and doing the lengthened partials with it. You can, like, sometimes what I'll do is I'll put my hand over the top and I'll push it down and then do a negative. That's if it's like right at the end of the rep, the end of my reps. And it fucking is a killer movement. Trust me, you will love the cuff attachment when employed. And note the way I'm doing it. Note the body English. This is probably going to be the best way to get the most stretch in your tricep and the best extension in your tricep. And of course, I am still a fan of a little bit of body leverage, so that way you can lean over, grab the cable, the bar that the cable thing is on, lean over and just grip that tight and push down and really focus in on your triceps, and when it comes to this movement, you're targeting your medial and lateral head, which is the outer portion and the upper portion. Overhead triceps, I don't know if I told you, that's the long head, the inner portion of your triceps, and then I told you what the tricep pushdown was. The last two movements, okay, are going to be a close grip bench press and a Larson press. Now, I've heard this go by other names other than Larson Press, so forgive me if the Larson Press is not the actual name for it. But as you see in the video, this is what I'm doing, right? I like to use a Smith with this, even though you can use free weights with it and there's no problem, and yes, you should. But I don't, when it comes to my triceps, I don't want to worry about no stabilizing muscle. I really want to hit my triceps more. And it's easier with the Smith machine. You can put the safety racks up. That way you don't smash your face. And this is a really fun movement if it doesn't hurt your elbows and if you've never tried it before. As you see, the bar comes down to my face. My arms are about shoulder width apart, just like a close grip bench, except the bar is just up higher to my face. You do a less weight with this, but you can, I've seen dudes do fucking 225 with it, and that's fucking crazy. I think Alex Leonidas probably does like fucking 285 with this or some shit. I don't know. He's done a lot with this, but this movement, it's a little less weight, but it really targets your triceps in a really fun way. And if you don't like this version, then do the close grip bench press. I think this targets your triceps. It targets all heads of your triceps, but mainly the medial and lateral heads of your triceps. And you'll note I don't do full extension. I don't do a full lockout with this movement. I like to maintain tension on my triceps by not fully locking out when it comes to certain movements, and this is one of them. And again, I'll bring it to my chest, and it looks like I'm touching my chest, but I'm not. I'm stopping like a quarter inch above my chest. That way I'm maintaining tension, but I'm getting as much stretch out of the movement as possible and pushing up again. Now, this one's fun because you can do a lot of weight on it. It's a great ego movement. Some guys have shoulder issues, and so they don't program this. I recommend getting over your shoulder issues so you can program this. But if you cannot program this, then don't. You don't have to at all. Or just do extra lightweight, or do a couple extra sets with the other tricep movements that I recommended. But either way, these will give you the best bang for your buck when it comes to your tricep exercises. And again, I went from having net zero triceps, like my back, net zero triceps, to having some triceps. And I didn't do it by fucking around. I spent maybe a year fucking around with it. But when I actually did tricep training legitimately, this was how I did it. This was how they grew. And I promise you, if you go anywhere in the lifting space, a lot of the things I suggested you're going to hear. So this is dime a dozen information for those who are progressing effectively. Let's move into the bicep movements. When it comes to your bicep exercises, I mean, honestly, unless you are bodybuilding and trying to sculpt a specific look for your biceps, if you're just trying to get some big biceps, you can just do whatever the fuck is your favorite. That's real talk. Just do whatever is your favorite. Just make sure you do your favorite ones correctly. All right. And make sure they are effective bicep movements, obviously. But as long as they're effective, as long as they're done correctly, it really doesn't matter what you do. So I'm going to talk about my favorite. So my first favorite is the barbell curl. I like it either with the easy bar or with these, it comes with the prefix weight. And I do progressive overload by adding those 2.5 pound ankle weight attachments on it. That way I can go in increments of 5 instead of increments of 10. It makes progressive overload on it last longer, and it makes it doesn't hurt the ego when you move. Like, you move up 10 pounds, sometimes you don't get what you want, and then you got to go back down in your weight, but you're too effective there, and you don't, and then you abandon the exercise. With the attachments, you can, do progressive overload and not worry about that necessarily. But I like this one. Again, all of these movements are going to target every part of your bicep you really need to worry about. So, and a little bit of your forearms as well. So there's no need to necessarily go on the specifics, but we'll start. Barbell curl, my favorite. The next one is going to be the Zottman curl. Now, I like this movement. It's not the greatest bicep movement, but it's the greatest like full arm movement. It's really good for your forearms. It's really good for your biceps. It's a burning movement. If you've ever tried this movement with, significant weight, then you'll know at some point that shit just burns. It make your forearms get pumped, your biceps get pumped, and they get sore. There is progressive overload, but only to a little bit. I don't recommend Zottmans with heavy weight. I honestly recommend Zottmans for limited times when you are, if If you are going through some elbow issues, some pulling issues, some pain in your inner elbow, Zottman curls are a great way to effectively train your biceps and heal that at the same time. And again, don't go up too high in weight, and this will apply. If you go up too high in weight, then it's going to hurt regardless. So that's why I do Zottman curls. They are like a rehabilitative, and also they're more of a rehabilitative movement, but yes, they help when it comes to your forearm growth. And when it comes to forearm growth, honestly, just fucking lift weights, man. Like, yes, straps hinder your grip, which hinders forearm growth. But if you are effectively training, there's going to be so many times where you're not using straps and your forearms will come into play. You can do direct forearm training, but I've never done it. I've never really been too big a fan of it. You know, I do some fucking power cleans and shit like that. Like, I trust, if you deadlift enough before you start using straps, you know what I'm saying, power clean enough, bent row enough, all sorts of shit, your forearms are gonna grow with the rest of your, you know. And if you have ungifted forearms or just genetically crap forearms, then yeah, forearm training is for you. But I'm not the guy to teach it to you, and that's me being honest with you. So the next one's gonna be the cable curl. You can do this any way you want. I like to do it behind the back. So as you see, I'm like grabbing one side of the cable machine and pulling myself forward. That way I can just hold my body there and just focus a lot on my biceps, the stretch portion and the curl portion. And just like your triceps, emphasize your stretch, and you'll be golden. And the last one is the drag curl. And again, bicep training doesn't necessarily matter if you're just doing good bicep training. Drag curls, they feel good. I get a great stimulus right in that fucking pocket of my biceps between my forearm and the bicep. That area right there, that should be burning, motherfucker. I should be hurting from doing drag curls. So I keep programming them. If they didn't do anything, if I didn't get a pump from them, then I would abandon them. And this goes with almost any other fucking bicep movement. So as you see, your bicep movements don't necessarily matter, at least to me, unless you are trying to sculpt a specific bicep look. And if that's the case, let me know. Let me know, hey, I'm bodybuilding and I want to sculpt a certain type of bicep. Then I got you. Because obviously that's what I was doing when I was bodybuilding. But if you're just trying to build a big bicep, then trust me, just do your favorite shit, do it correctly, maintain tension on the bicep, emphasize the stretch portion of the movement, use moderate to significant high weight, you know what I'm saying? You can do high rep, low rep, whichever one you like the most, remember that, and you're golden. Anyway, that's all we got for today. Much love. Peace.